Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. National Security Police arrest former legislator Albert Ho while he's out on bail. The MTR's profit from its property business will be taken into account when adjusting fares. And in Moscow, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin discuss China's roadmap for peace in Ukraine. Former opposition lawmaker Albert Ho has been arrested by National Security Police while on bail. He was reportedly detained on suspicion of perverting the course of justice. Joanna Ho has the details.
Albert Ho was handcuffed and taken away from his home in North Point by National Security Police this morning. He is suspected of perverting the course of justice while out on bail. Sources said the former Democratic Party chairman was accused of interfering with a defendant who is in jail by sending a message to the person through a relative. The defendant is among those involved in the current trial over the unofficial primary elections. Although Ho is not part of that trial, some defendants belonged to the Democratic Party. He is also the former vice chairman of the now-defunct Hong Kong Alliance in support of Patriotic Democratic Movements of China, which organized June 4th vigils. He was jailed in May 2021 for taking part in 4 unlawful assemblies, but on completing the sentences, he remained in custody because of another case. Ho, former Alliance Chairman Lee Chak-yen, and Vice Chairwoman Chow Hang-tong were accused of inciting subversion of state power between July 2020 and September 2021. However, in August last year, Ho was granted bail of $700,000 so that he could be treated for a potential lung cancer recurrence. His bail conditions included a ban on meeting foreign officials. The political veteran also had to surrender all his travel documents, observe a night curfew, and report to police 3 times a week. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
The government is including profit from property in the way the MTR Corporation calculates fare adjustments. The railway operator will also face stiffer penalties for delays caused by accidents. Macy Mock reports.
The MTR Corporation is revamping its fare adjustment mechanism to address concerns that profits made from its property business are not factored in.
We have heard noises loud and clear from general public that the profits, in particular, the profits of MTRCL, in particular, those derived from property development, has been huge, and that is why we would like to link the Hong Kong property development profits to the formula.
The fare adjustment mechanism currently takes in inflation and transport sector wages. From June, profit made from property will be included in its productivity factor, which takes into consideration the railway firm's transport revenue and operating expenses. Under the revamp, if the profit from property is less than $5 billion, the productivity factor will be reduced by 0.6%. Higher profits will push up the productivity factor. As the MTRC earned $10.4 billion from property last year, its productivity factor was 0.8%, and this will be reduced from the results of the inflation and wage formula. The government is also increasing the penalties for train delays by 60% to up to $40 million per incident. The penalty will be heftier if accidents occur during the morning and afternoon rush hours. Macy Mock, HKIBC.
Some lawmakers say the property profit benchmark of $5 billion and $10 billion set for the new fare adjustment mechanism is too high. Independent legislators Gary Zhang, Scott Leung and Kitson Yang were glad that the government took their advice to factor in profits. But they clarified that they suggested calculating the profits from the MTRC's overall basic operations. instead of just property. Citing previous figures, Yeung indicated that it's unlikely fares would be deducted in the future under the new mechanism, as the corporation earned more than $5 billion in only 3 of the past 11 years. He suggested raising the fare rate deduction percentage to as high as 1.2%. Chief Executive John Lee has expressed confidence that repercussions from the rescue of troubled banking giant Credit Suisse will not affect Hong Kong.
The Credit Suisse business and the assets in Hong Kong are relatively small. Credit Suisse is in normal business, and we are monitoring the situation. The banking sector is operating smoothly and normally, and the liquidity of the market is also very abundant.
Lee said Hong Kong's banking system is resilient. He noted that the Monetary Authority and the Securities and Futures Commission are watching the financial markets and managing risks. Swiss lender UBS took over Credit Suisse in a bid to avert a global banking crisis. President Xi Jinping and his Russian host Vladimir Putin are continuing talks on Beijing's plan to end the conflict in Ukraine. The two leaders have already met for more than 4 hours, with China pressing for a diplomatic solution to the war between Russia and its neighbor. Chloe Feng reports.
Shortly after arriving in Moscow, President Xi Jinping headed for the Kremlin to meet his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. The two old friends greeted each other with an effusive handshake, as Putin congratulated his guest for being re-elected to a 3rd term. Xi, in response, noted that Russia was the first country he visited when he first became president 10 years ago. He praised the progress since then in Sino-Russian relations. Our geographical proximity and strategic partnership have moved us closer, he said. Turning to the year-long war between Russia and Ukraine, the Chinese leader said most countries have been pressing for peace talks. China has issued a 12-point plan which rejects Cold War thinking and advocates a political settlement. The United States is cool on the proposals because they include a call to end unilateral sanctions against Moscow. Xi emphasized the importance of dialogue, stressing that no effort should be spared in the search for peace. Putin said he has carefully studied Beijing's roadmap and noted that he has always been open to negotiations. The two leaders talked for 4.5 hours and will meet again tonight for more substantive discussions. Xi has indicated a willingness to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as Beijing flexes its diplomatic muscles. After recently brokering peace between Middle Eastern oil giants, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Beijing has accused Washington of provocation and undermining regional security by allowing Taiwan's leader Tsai Ing-wen to transit in the United States on her way to and from Central America. But it's not known if she will meet U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California. Asam Khan reports.
China has warned the United States over Tsai Ing-wen's stopovers on her visits to Guatemala and Belize starting next Wednesday. She will transit through New York before heading to Central America and stopping over in Los Angeles on the return leg. She's widely expected to meet U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California, but there's no confirmation. The White House says China has been notified of the trip in advance, and Washington would not want a repeat of what happened. After former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's controversial visit to Taiwan in August last year, China reacted by firing missiles near Taiwan, deploying warships around the island, and restricting communications with the Pentagon. Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin reiterated that Beijing opposes any contacts between the United States and Taiwan officials. He added that any Taiwanese efforts to collude with foreign powers to seek independence or provoke China will end in failure. Tsai's transit stops will take place just weeks after Washington approved the sale of missiles for Taiwan's F-16 fleet. The $600 million deal is the first between Joe Biden's administration and Taiwan this year, and the 9th since he took office in 2021. Beijing condemned the sales, saying it will destabilize regional security. Azam Khan, HKIBC.
London's Metropolitan Police Commissioner Mark Rowley has apologised to residents of the British capital for letting them down. This follows a scathing report which described Britain's largest police force as racist, misogynistic and homophobic. Louise Casey, who sits in the House of Lords, went so far as to say the force should be dismantled if there are no improvements. She also accused police of failing to protect women and children. The report said even women who worked in the Met were harassed, while officers from ethnic minorities were bullied. Hong Kong stocks have rebounded after yesterday's rout amid easing concerns about a banking sector crisis. The benchmark climbed 1.4%, but turnover at $100 billion was modest because investors remained cautious about emerging risks. Finance-related shares improved, with HSBC up 2.9%, ending a 3-session losing streak. Standard Chartered advanced 2.3%, and AIA gained 2.9%. Sports equipment company Anta was among the best performers, coming off the blocks to end the day up 9.2% on better-than-expected annual results. Automobile company XPeng accelerated to close 11% higher. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day up by 258 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent picked up $8.80. The tracker fund up 25 cents, while Alibaba was up by $1.30. Meituan was up by $1.20, while Wuxi Biologics was up $4. The forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro's at 8.46, the pound sterling at 9.61, while the Australian dollar at 5.24. And in Europe, the London FTSE is currently up by 121 points. The Insurance Complaints Bureau has urged policyholders to declare their medical conditions truthfully to avoid disputes. The Bureau received 607 complaints last year, similar to the number before COVID. The highest award was around $400,000. Most of the closed cases involved disputes about policy terms, followed by complaints on the non-disclosure of medical conditions. The Bureau said people should review their medical conditions when buying insurance, even if they are unsure if it is necessary. On to the weather now. Sunny intervals and 1 or 2 showers tomorrow, while coastal areas will be misty. Temperatures will range between 23 and 27 degrees. Be prepared for a wet weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Good night.